Russia struck back on the battlefield after Ukraine's deep logistics attacks, intensifying pressure across the front. Moscow claims Ukrainian forces suffered heavy losses as Russian troops pushed forward on multiple fronts. Russia says its latest offensive secured fresh battlefield gains, tightening pressure on Ukrainian defenses. The Kremlin claims additional settlements have fallen under Russian control during the latest phase of the offensive. After Kyiv's strike on Russia's logistics network, Moscow responded with heavy attacks on Ukrainian port infrastructure. Russia claimed on August 2 that its forces captured 2 more Ukrainian settlements as fighting continued across multiple frontline sectors. Russia's defense ministry said its troops had taken control of Olgovka in the Kharkiv region and Lyubitskoye in the Zaporizhzhia region. The ministry credited Russia's Zapad Group of forces with capturing the settlement of Olgovka during recent combat operations. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov congratulated the troops involved, praising them for the latest battlefield gains. Russia also claimed it carried out precision strikes on Ukrainian ports and key transportation infrastructure during the latest operations. The Defense Ministry said fuel storage tanks at the Port of Odesa were destroyed in the reported precision missile strikes. Russia further claimed a tugboat modified to launch uncrewed surface vessels was struck at the Port of Mykolaiv. Russia's Dnieper group of forces said it also attacked Ukrainian positions near Orikov, Preobrazhenka, and Yulievka. The ministry claimed Ukrainian forces lost more than 40 personnel, 28 military vehicles, 6 electronic warfare stations, and 1 artillery gun. Russia also reported striking Ukrainian drone production facilities, storage sites, and deployment areas during the latest offensive operations. A Russian drone struck a Rozhetka warehouse in the Kyiv region on August 1, killing 1 employee and injuring 7 others. The attack hit the company's logistics facility in Brovary, located northeast of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Rozhetka said around 270 employees were working inside the warehouse when the Russian drone struck the facility. The company identified the employee killed in the attack as Volodymyr Melnichenko and confirmed his death. Rozhetka said the injured workers received medical treatment, while 1 person remained in serious condition after the strike. The warehouse attack followed Russia's large-scale missile and drone barrage against Kyiv and surrounding areas earlier the same day. Ukrainian officials said the wider assault damaged residential buildings, industrial facilities, a school, and the Lithuanian embassy. The strike came after Ukraine intensified attacks on Russia's Wildberries logistics centers in recent days. Ukrainian officials have claimed that Wildberries logistics facilities support Russia's broader military supply and logistics network. Russia launched its second major missile attack on Ukraine in just 48 hours, marking another significant escalation in the ongoing conflict and intensifying pressure on the country's air defenses. Multiple ballistic missiles struck Kyiv during the early hours of August 1, triggering air raid alerts and sending residents rushing to shelters across the Ukrainian capital. At least 9 people were killed and 23 others were injured in the overnight attack, according to Ukrainian officials, as emergency teams continued search and rescue operations. Fires and extensive damage were reported across at least 5 districts of Ukraine's capital, with residential buildings and civilian infrastructure among the affected sites. Kyiv's Darnitsky district suffered the highest casualties, with 7 people reported killed as the missile strikes caused widespread destruction in the area. 14 people, including 2 children, were injured in the Darnitsky district, where emergency responders treated the wounded and searched damaged buildings for survivors. The attack came after Ukraine's Air Force warned that multiple ballistic missiles were heading toward Kyiv, urging residents to remain in shelters as the threat unfolded. Explosions rocked the capital in several waves throughout the night, as successive missile strikes shook different parts of the city over a prolonged period. Russian missiles struck apartment buildings, warehouses, a car wash, and a parking area, causing significant destruction to both residential and commercial properties. Several buildings partially collapsed during the attack, trapping residents beneath debris and prompting urgent rescue efforts by emergency services. Firefighters and emergency crews were deployed to multiple impact sites across Kyiv, working to extinguish fires, rescue survivors, and assess the extent of the damage. Fires were reported in the Darnitsky, Shevchenkivsky, Solomiansky, and Holosivsky districts, as authorities responded to multiple emergencies across different parts of the capital. The latest strike followed another massive Russian missile barrage just 2 days earlier on July 30, underscoring the sustained pace of attacks targeting Ukraine's capital. A mass Russian aerial attack on Ukraine overnight on July 30th killed at least 8 civilians and injured more than 50 others as missiles and drones struck multiple regions. Air raid alerts were issued in eastern Poland after a Russian missile crossed into Polish airspace and fell into a field in Lublin Voivodeship, prompting NATO to condemn the strike as reckless. Damage and casualties were reported in cities across Ukraine, including Kyiv and Lviv, where residential buildings, schools, and other civilian infrastructure were hit. In one of the attacks, a Russian ballistic missile destroyed a U.S. firm's Kyiv drone factory, wiping out a key site in Ukraine's unmanned systems production. The strike on the terminal autonomy plant appeared to be the first time in the war that Moscow has directly targeted a U.S.-registered company inside Ukraine. The U.S.-owned drone factory in Kyiv was destroyed by a Russian ballistic missile, leaving the facility in ruins but causing no deaths at the site. Terminal Autonomy makes precision deep strike drones with systems designed to resist Russian jamming signals, including the AQ-400 Scythe and AQ-100 bayonet models. According to The Guardian and other reports, both AQ-400 Scythe and AQ-100 bayonet drones are part of the plant's product line, giving Ukraine long-range strike options that challenge Russia's air defenses. A former U.S. intelligence officer said Russians don't care who owns the manufacturing facility, viewing any plant that supports Ukraine's war effort as a legitimate target regardless of its corporate home. Notably, nobody was killed in the Russian attack on the drone factory, with sources familiar with the company confirming the building was empty when the missile hit.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Have you ever wondered what happens when a banking dynasty meets tides of world history, intrigue, and a dash of myth?
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.